Part 24. Strategy for the All Heavens Dungeon, starting from the Biohive. Author, I'm Chasing Water in the Sky. Chapter 231. Super Danger Reincarnation Secret Realm, Storyless Kingdom. Information, Rules. Mission, kill all reincarnators. It's a world that looks extremely ordinary. In addition to the fact that it looks like the sky is deeper. The four raiders who came to this storyless kingdom couldn't see anything unusual. And on top of that, there's the pressure from the whole universe. The ubiquitous pressure made four strong men who could run rampant in the starry sky of the universe. It can only be like some powerful transcendent. It seems to be extremely oppressive and transcendent. Is this the rule in the message? It's scary enough. Dong Huang Tai muttered. Even if it's the Ming dynasty, or Kyushu. Leave the land that has been elevated and go to the starry sky. 440. It's not as good as this powerful oppression. No wonder it was rated as a super dangerous cosmic secret realm. And the limits are so high. I'm afraid that cultivators who have not yet broken through to the realm of our others have already begun to touch the structure of the universe and the laws of the world. When I came here, I was just a mortal. Zhang Sanfan's eyes lit up, and he felt this unusual scene carefully. The great sage tried a few scrolls or spells on the side, but to no avail. However, in the secret realm of the Arad warriors, the transformation props obtained by opening the box can be used normally. But the premise is that the great sage can't fight, otherwise, he will lose the effect of his transformation. He is now a wooden pot merchant selling crockpots on a street corner. Among the four ancient people, they may be the ones who have the deepest grasp of the laws and even rules of the universe. She could feel the universe intertwined with law. The myriad laws appear unusually solid, and incomparably docile. It seems to have been combed with a comb, which is pleasing to the eye. This kind of scenario is comparable to consuming a huge amount of points, and in the middle layer of the Tower of Origin, the law of comprehension and the law of touch are general. Guys, be careful. My time gem is of no use here. And I've always felt that it's best not to use our supernatural powers too much here. The words of the Supreme Master, Zhang Sanfan, the great sage and the Eastern Emperor Tai, there is nothing wrong with it? Instead, he nodded solemnly. The first time I came to the super dangerous secret realm, I deeply realized what powerlessness is. It's not like before, it's a legendary god. And now, I have to walk in a hurry. Divine thoughts are barely a few meters away from the body, and they are already the limit. This is still the result of its own strong strength. Moreover, it is not only the energy that oppresses, but also the flesh. The great sage is a spiritual stone, conceived by heaven and earth, immortal and indestructible. But now, the physical activity, like mortal things, has lost all mystical properties. Master, what a terrible place this is. Just by looking at it, I feel that there is something beyond the laws of heaven all the time. Yuan Shi Tianzun asked in a condensed voice. The eyes of several great saints, even through the live broadcast of the light curtain, can see the extraordinariness of that world. Hung Jun didn't say anything. It's a cry in my heart. Thanks to the predecessors of Yuan, I didn't expect to be able to face the rules of the avenue, and my Hung Jun has achieved the complete way of heaven, just around the corner. However, in such a powerful universe, I don't know how powerful and incredible things will be. Muttered in his heart, slowed down for a moment, and looked at the apprentice who had no eyesight in displeasure, disturbing his own perception of the rules of the great Dao. However, he didn't wait for Hung Jun to speak. Several streamers flickered and came to Hung Jun and the others. If you read a violent novel, go to Fila Novel Network. It is those innate gods and demons, as well as strong people such as demon ancestor Rahu. 6666. I don't know if I've watched too much live broadcast and learned a mouthful of Kyushu live broadcast terminology. Rahu shouted a few times to show his heart. At the beginning, the world that these people entered was intertwined in the entire universe, but the rules of the great Deo Avenue rules. The insight and knowledge of the saints are still stuck in the consummation of the 3,000 laws. Because of the strange things obtained from the source, there is also the teaching of Hung Jun. Now he has also begun to embark on the road of heavenly rules. The rules of combing, the rules of compilation, the rules of writing. Interweaving the 3,000 great avenues into the law of heavenly Deo. 3,000 is an imaginary number. Far more than just 3,000. Back then, the god of Pangu was holding a watermelon knife. From the Chaos East Road, without blinking an eye, it slashed to the Chaos West Road 0. The innate demon god who was cut off is unknown. It's not just tens of thousands. How strong is he? Zi Hung Jun said, it must be stronger than him. But he still didn't go beyond the realm of the rules of the heavenly Deo. Otherwise, he wouldn't have fallen here. Don't say much, let's talk about the rules. On top of the laws of the heavenly Deo, that is naturally the rules of the great Deo. As for what it was like and what to do, I don't know yet. After all, even Hung Jun ancestor is far from that realm. But the live broadcast room in front of you. What is presented here is a universe controlled by the rules of the great Deo. Last time I went to a place where the rules of the great Deo are controlled, the abyss. But with this universe, it's very different, completely different. Lao Tzu expressed his doubts. This is the strength and difference of the rules of the great Deo. If you don't transcend the heavenly Deo, you will never be able to touch the rules of the great Deo. Now, we can only barely feel a trace of the rules of the avenue through the live broadcast. Demon Ancestor Rahu said in a deep voice. In the live broadcast room in front of them, Zhang Sanfan and the four of them are moving in one direction. Zhang Jinren, I didn't expect that the immortal magic skills here are not as easy to use as this high-tech. Dong Huangtai said jokingly. While watching, the picture transmitted by a drone. There are many drones, but this 5.0 is unknown and strange after all. So as not to anger an unknown being or power. Not to mention, secretly, there are reincarnators. Zhang Sanfan controlled the drone, and after checking the place, he finally found a city. It was brightly lit, and in the silence of the night, it seemed very noisy. After viewing, take back the drone as soon as possible. The four of them walk slowly, step by step, towards the city. Along the way, walk through jungle, climb over 2 high mountains, and a spacious river. Finally, we arrived in front of this majestic and glorious city. Here, it should be what we said in our message, the kingdom without stories. Dong Huangtai muttered. I wonder why this place is called the kingdom of no stories. Why can't it be called a kingdom with stories? Strategy for the All Heavens Dungeon, starting from the Biohive. Author, I'm chasing water in the sky. Chapter 232. Dong Huangtai wondered why this place was called the kingdom of no story. But he apparently didn't know how dangerous it will be when this becomes a kingdom with stories. And, as everyone knows, when they come here, the reincarnation comes here. They may have been part of a story. The shaping magic that changes some ordinary substances, but it can still be used. Let's change your clothes first. The Supreme Mage used trees and gold and iron to shape and change a few simple clothes and ornaments, and let a few people change them. So as not to dress differently, so as to be discovered by others as soon as you enter. Especially the reincarnation. At the gate of the city, even if it is already night. But there were also people guarding the city gate, and the 4 people were not embarrassed, and they were directly released. It surprised a few people. Is the vigilance so weak? They don't know that this is a kingdom without a story? There hasn't been a single accident in years. Therefore, the kingdom has been peaceful for a long time, happy and peaceful. Moreover, tomorrow is the old king's birthday. Since yesterday, the entire royal capital has begun to dress up and celebrate. Therefore, the city of the royal capital is so lively. 05 And the vigilance of the soldiers at the door is also weaker. Because the people who come in the evening will be regarded as people who come here from other places to congratulate the king. Such a dangerous universe, in my spiritual sense, always reminds me that this place is extremely dangerous. But it's peaceful, and I don't know how to describe it. The Eastern Emperor whispered, as several people looked for a place to stay. Zhang Sanfan smiled, and his eyes flashed yin and yang Taiji. Yin and yang are accompanied, blessings and misfortunes depend on each other. The great sage pursed his lips and looked at Zhang Jinren. These bulls, have those bald donkeys, they always talk halfway, and they don't speak clearly. I have evidence, full suspicion, in fact, they themselves do not understand. Still pretending to understand, saying things that people don't understand. At this time, in the street behind him, galloping horses galloped and shouted loudly. Several people stopped, stood on the side of the road, and turned to look. At the forefront, the man on the horse, dressed in a gorgeous manner, had a little excitement in his eyes. Behind him were 2 guards in armor. There were also 6 people in fancy costumes. They gathered around a young man in the darkness of the night, wearing a cloak that looked like a black ash field. Look at it from the exposed face. This man is only a teenager, and he is still a child. The eyes stared at the men in a daze, until they disappeared at the end of the road and entered the palace. Those few people, at first glance, are reincarnators. It's far different from these people in the locals, even the guards. These people still have the power of magic and supernatural powers. Aside from the oppression here, they may be about the same as a few of us. The great sage said slowly, imprinting the face he had written down earlier in his mind. It shouldn't be wrong, the feeling of being out of place in this world can be seen clearly just by looking at it. Dong Huangtai nodded and said, but frowned. Then they should have noticed us, right? Such a strong person, and a strong person who came out of such a cruel place as the reincarnation space. His vision should be good. Don't underestimate others. Prejudice and arrogance are the poison that kills people. Don't underestimate others because of carelessness, and end up with resurrection in the source. That's going to make people laugh out of their big teeth. There is this possibility, and we need to pay attention tonight. If you read a violent novel, go to Filu Novel Network. Also, seeing that they go straight to the palace, it should be related to the person who leads the way. It seems that their reincarnation mission this time is not necessarily simple. Guyi said softly, while finding a random restaurant and moving in. The next day. Today is the day of the king's birthday celebrations. From the morning, when the sun is high, it is already extremely lively outside. Even yesterday night, it wasn't so noisy. Moreover, an uninvited guest has been waiting here early. The target is the Ancient One or 4. This man has been here for a long time, and they have already discovered him. But it was still delayed until it was close to noon, and then I left the room and came to the lobby of the restaurant. This reincarnation seemed to have no fear, swaggering in front of the 4 people, and walked up directly when he saw people. How many, can you talk about it? The ancient people had already taken countermeasures, and the monkey shook the head of the wooden jar and found a table to sit down at random. Please. Zhang Sanfan, who had a slightly chubby belly, said with a smile, looking hospitable. As soon as he sat down, the reincarnation's eyes flashed and turned into a pair of hollow, flaming eyes. But when you look through the flames, you can see delicate electronic devices. It's a mechanical puppet, and the person in control doesn't know where to hide. That's why he dared to come here alone. Such reincarnators, who have gone through many worlds of life and death, are not simply going to put themselves in danger. Let's get straight to the point, don't hide it. Let's talk about your mission, and see if it's a war or a cooperation. Zhang Sanfan asked directly and bluntly. The subtext is that we are reincarnators and we know that you are reincarnated. The task is laid out, see if you need to do one, or if there is a chance to cooperate to finish 770. Then, Zhang Sanfan picked up the juice poured by the great sage and said. We're going to have specific tasks, after all, you know. And I see that you and the prince have come together. Looks like you've chosen. Zhang Sanfan was halfway through his words, took a sip of juice, and looked at the puppet with a smile. It seems that through the puppet, I saw several reincarnators. As for the identity of the gorgeously dressed person last night, he was naturally in the restaurant, so he inquired about it casually. But the reincarnator on the puppet's side wasn't much surprised. It was only a few seconds of effort, and he said. You are full of confidence, don't be careless, you will die here. The man was talking like a man, and he continued. Since we have come together with the Prince of Smooth Sand, the natural choice is to help the prince. It seems that we are not all the way. Zhang Sanfan said it directly, but did not specifically say his task. After all, the devil only knows what your reincarnation tasks are. Our task is to kill your reincarnations. Simple, brutal. The mechanical puppet sneered coldly and got up to fight. Humph. Then I'll watch how you die. After saying that, he turned around and left. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Strategy for the All Heavens Dungeon, starting from the Biohive. Author, I'm chasing water in the sky. Chapter 233. They're cautious enough, too. Zhang Sanfan muttered. Take control of tiny mechanical flying insects and watch over departing mechanical golems. But the reincarnator is also cautious, and directly manipulates the puppet to the outside of the city. The mechanical body collapsed, dissolved, and turned into a pile of iron powder. Seeing this scene, Zhang Sanfan sighed. In samsara, those who can come to such a powerful world must be as limited as we are. So, all these reincarnators who come here are all top-notch people in mind and ability. Otherwise, I wouldn't have lived that long. Dong Huangtai was not surprised. If he really faced a few of his own people, he would not even have any defense. That's not normal. Okay, I don't know if what I said just now is true or not. However, their plan will definitely be revealed at the old king's banquet today. Give. The great sage said, pulling out some transformation props. All from the secret realm of the Arad warriors. These are things that can ignore the rules and restrictions, and there is almost no place to use them in normal times. Not to mention, it's still useful to go to this kind of different place. Especially those agents. It's not the ones that are refined, but the ones that are dropped by the multidimensional dungeon secret realm. It's not affected in the slightest. Great sage, what are you going to do here? The ancient one took the transformation prop, the golden pot. This old king's banquet, we have to go in, there must be a reason. With this transformation item, we are the Jar Wanderer, selling new treasures. Use this identity as a cover and offer treasures to the king, won't you be able to enter the palace? On the Frost Prince's mansion, in a luxurious room. The mysterious boy who was invited by the prince seemed to close his eyes and recuperate. Outside the room, the one who guards the mysterious boy is the reincarnation. Corpse puppet, did you find anything? The person known as the corpse puppet is the one who sent the mechanical puppet to the restaurant to test the main owner of the Eastern Emperor Tai. Boss, the suppression here is too strong. My little ones, it's not going to come in handy here. And the exploration of the mechanical puppet has not gained anything. However, I suspect that their mission may be to protect the kingdom, or to protect the princess. For being in the same world, they are not surprised to see other reincarnators. When the two sides meet, it is a dream to talk about exchange and cooperation. The reincarnators who meet, some just kill. Our mission is to kill Princess Lazug, the Prince of the Sea of God, and the Prince of Frost and Sand to ascend to the throne. But the prince, apparently distrusting us, has brought in this painter. The woman with a black cloth covering her eyes on one side said with some resentment. This painter is just an ordinary person, what use can he be? The man known as the boss is a little thin, but his face is full of cruelty and madness. What a painter is capable of, it has nothing to do with us. But this kind of world does not leave any message in the reincarnation space. There are so many restrictions. Even in the past few days, on the surface, it seems to be calm. It's far less dangerous than a long time ago, when the world was weak and small. The emaciated boss said in a deep voice, looked at the sun and continued to say. And we stayed here for 4 months before we gained a little trust from the prince and joined the convoy. At the same time, it deepens the connection with this universe and sets the anchor of reincarnation. The reincarnation quest has begun. The prince was also very happy in the past 2 days, and he looked like he was about to do it. Let's follow him first, just to see what this painter is capable of. The reincarnators were chatting outside. If you read a violent novel, go to Feel Novel Network. But at some point, the painter was in the room, staring at the 6 people for a long time, a long time. It seems that the 6 reincarnators, every hair, and every detail of their faces have been clearly imprinted into their minds. Until the prince sent someone to tell him. The royal palace celebration is about to begin. Bang bang. A colorful fireworks display bursts into the air. The brilliant lights illuminate the entire city brightly and lively. The stone-paved path leading to the palace is covered with a thick carpet that welcomes every guest who attends the feast. 4 strange men dressed in 4-colored robes with wooden pots on their heads also walked on the bright red carpet and walked into the palace. I showed the invitation at the door, and I went straight inside. In the palace, it is much more prosperous and lively than the outer city. The crowd of singing and dancing was accompanied by a gorgeous band. The attendants who shuttled back and forth walked gracefully in front of everyone. And the first thing he did when he came in was to present a gift to the king. It's funny, there's a guy with a jar on his head. The old king, after seeing the 4 men with the heads of the jars and giving them gifts, turned to the queen and said with a smile. Your Majesty, you are mistaken, our jar is just a little magical decoration. The golden jar ancient one said softly, but he didn't block his voice because of the jar. And when the gifts were gone, the atmosphere in the palace became even more eager. And the king, who didn't know whether it was intentional or unintentional, actually announced it at this time. The next king of the storyless kingdom will be succeeded by Princess Lazug. Everyone present looked at the Ice Sand Prince for the first time. Includes a 4-pot group. It seems that the task of the reincarnation team must be related to the throne. The silver jar Dong Huang whispered. But the Sand Prince, whether it was his eyes or facial expressions, didn't seem to care at all. On the contrary, he happily praised his father's wisdom and blessed his own sister. The king was even more happy to see his son so generous, and wanted to preserve this moment forever. It's a pity they don't have a camera. So, at this time, a minister came out and proposed that the painter paint. And the painting for this is the young man who was protected by the reincarnation that he saw on the 4 jars last night. Seeing this scene, it is not difficult to imagine. There must be some conspiracy in this. But the young man in front of him is indeed just an ordinary person. Is there any other way to help the prince, turn the situation around, and put him on the throne? Or, is it just that a few of you have thought about it? This Sand Prince is not a thief? With the thought that he couldn't figure out, he left the palace. But it's at night. Through the small mechanical flying insects, you can see the changes. The king is missing. Strategy for the All Heavens dungeon, Starting from the Biohive. Author, I'm chasing water in the sky. Chapter 234. The king is missing. It is played back through the monitoring screen of the mechanical flying insects. The king lay down in bed, but he disappeared inexplicably. The kind that disappears out of thin air. Even the ancient one couldn't see any trace of magic. It's weird. Could it be that the reincarnation group is the ghost? The great sage muttered, but shook his head again. No way, these people can't do something I can't detect under the nose of this great sage. Zhang Sanfan and others can trust this monkey. Since there is no movement. But why did the king disappear silently? But successively the king disappeared, and several people discussed a few words of time. There was movement in the city again. Is there any connection? The great sage simply released a few mechanical flying insects, flying out from afar, detecting movements. And it was the house of a minister of the kingdom who made a commotion. Like a king, suddenly disappeared. Another person is missing, and he is still the minister of the kingdom, and this matter must have nothing to do with the Prince of Frost, or those reincarnators. The words of the Eastern Emperor Tai naturally have a certain Tao 320 principles. But before they could say more, a hint came from the side. Prompt quest started. Mission, go outside the city and save the mullion painter. Prompt tasks. Save an artist. Go, it seems that this mission must have something to do with this inexplicable disappearance. As soon as Dong Huang's voice fell, he jumped out of the window first. Towards the location outside the city, run away. Gu Yi, the great sage and Zhang Zhenren glanced at each other, did not hesitate, and hurriedly followed. Climb over the towering city walls and run quickly towards the forest. It took about 10 miles to run. Then he heard a sound in the distance, and the light of the fire came from that side. Rushing out of the dense forest again, a post road appeared. And the sound of the battle came from here. It's a reincarnation. The target of their fight is the people we want to save. As soon as the great sage finished speaking, Dong Huang Tai had already rushed forward. If you don't go again, the old man, who is holding a strange umbrella and keeps spinning, sees that he is about to be killed. Dead to come. The sound of the Eastern Emperor Tai's roar, af, is like the roar of a Buddhist lion, and the sound waves explode in the night sky. It shook the brains of several reincarnators, but they came back to their senses in an instant. Just you. A burly, muscular reincarnation, but a woman, roared loudly. Death rush. In an instant, a golden fighting spirit rose from this woman's body, surrounded by fighting energy, and turned into a giant bear roaring in the sky. Like a barbarian bear in the wilderness, he stepped on the earth, absorbed the power of the earth, and directly rushed violently against the Eastern Emperor Tai. With every step she took, the ground shook a dozen or 2 meters in front of her. Looking for death. Dong Huang Tai's eyes froze, facing this giant bear that was enveloping the power of the earth and rampage. It is a simple, but extremely powerful punch, like a kunpeng probing claw. Bang. Touch instantly. The reincarnator only felt that a heavenly phantom appeared inexplicably in front of him, and it was the 10 fierce kunpeng probing claws. With just one blow, the woman was torn to pieces. In an instant, the kung fu was solved in just one move. Waste. There is not even a complete Dao cultivation system, and the combination of various forces that have been cobbled together is simply full of loopholes. But as soon as the words fell, the flesh and bones in front of him that were torn to pieces were actually regrouped together. There were still cracks on his body that had just been torn, and there was a red string on them, sewing the cracks together. If you read a violent novel, go to Feel a Novel Network. Makes this body even uglier. But in the eyes of the Eastern Emperor Tai, the person in front of him was naturally dead. The corpse was manipulated by nothing more than the strange crimson string. In other words, this red rope is just a curse that refines this powerful ghost. The one who controls this corpse is naturally the red rope curse. This thing is just bluffing, and it's weak. And behind the Eastern Emperor Tai, Zhang Sanfen and several people also walked up. In front of me, plus the dead, there are only 4 reincarnators in total. That is, there are 2 more who did not come. Go. The other 3 reincarnators, seeing that the Eastern Emperor killed 1 person in 1 blow, were so frightened that they trembled. It's finally gotten to this point, and they don't want to die here. However, it seemed that a wall of air suddenly appeared in the space in front of them, directly trapping them and catching turtles in the urn. 3 times 5 divided by 2, these 4 reincarnators are solved. A hint of mission completion also came. As soon as I arrived at the old man with the umbrella, I heard him hurriedly shout. Quick, take me to the palace. Palace. Princess Luju looked worried. After being rescued by Guyi and others, the old painter Kong Ling said. It also gave them an idea of why the king disappeared. It turned out to be drawn into the painting. And it's also the supernatural item called snow wave paper in front of you. The trunk of a tree called miskin in Helsingen is scraped off to reveal rolls of snow wave paper. The Dong Huang Tai and a few people, holding the snow wave paper with bright white light, were suddenly shocked by this introduction. Swilang paper, a regular product, which can turn the people and objects drawn into real paintings. Note, it must be flattened with obsidian in order to paint. Note that snow wave paper and obsidian can be used to make two-way foils. Two-way foil, a rule prop developed by the cosmic civilization. After use, it can collapse the universe from macroscopic to onlookers, and carry out latitude strikes, from 3 dimensions to 2 dimensions. Two-way foil. Dimensionality reduction strike. Why are you telling me it's a product of technology? Turning an object from 3 dimensions to 2 dimensions. The simplest analogy is to slap a person and make it like a painting. Maybe not appropriate, but it's pretty much the same. At most, this process is infinitely expanding, can extend to the entire universe, and is irreversible. Unless it is a powerful person with vast supernatural powers, reversing the latitude of time and space. In other words, at least the Golden Immortal, the Great Emperor, and the Yang God must crush the power of the void. Is this a purely technological creation? Moreover, it can still be mass-produced. Feel free to use it. It's a bit of a shock. In the live broadcast room, countless people looked at Guyi and them, fiddling with the snow wave paper in their hands. Silence fell for a moment. Until half an hour later. Demon Ancestor Rahu, Exotic Linkage Old Iron, 66,666. Daezu Hongjun, Exotic Linkage Science and Technology. It is really an interesting product. According to the information, there should be stronger scientific and technological creations than this, and such a powerful civilization may already be like the way of heaven. Strategy for the All Heavens Dungeon, starting from the Biohive. Author, I'm Chasing Water in the Sky. Chapter 235. The appearance of snow wave paper can be described as a stone that stirs up 1,000 waves. Pure technological creations can be so powerful. It's terrifying. Mature technology products have one characteristic, that is, stability and mass production. This is the case with weapons and props like binary foils that clean up the universe. But obviously, the snow wave paper in front of him is far from that powerful power. And there are many limitations. Fortunately, a few of us appeared at the king's banquet in disguise. Otherwise, we may be silent, and we will be painted into the painting. Zhang Sanfen said in a deep voice. Fortunately, the great sage came up with the idea of cross-dressing. However, this umbrella, what is the principle? Why can you resist the effect of the snow wave paper? Although I am confused, now is not the time to understand this. The Molian painter in front of him glanced around decadently and shook his head. There's too little obsidian to flatten the snow wave paper. I can't get rid of my apprentice. The apprentice mentioned by the master of the mullion is the painter brought back by the Prince of Ice Sand. No wonder he has such superb skills. Today, there's only one way. Go to the Prince of the Sea of Gods, only he cannot be drawn into the snow wave paper. To solve the crisis of the kingdom. The mullion painter looked out and handed the umbrella to Princess Lazue. After all, the Sand Prince will definitely not let the princess go. A few traveling merchants are very good at martial arts, and they will definitely be able to protect Her Royal Highness the Princess. These snow wave papers, let's take them as a reward for protecting the princess. As he spoke, the mullion master slowly disappeared under the shelter of the umbrella that did not rotate. I can really even get my own master to do it, and I really deceive my teacher and destroy my ancestors. Dong Huangtai said fiercely, but the next moment he took out a few tree trunks. These are the snow wave papers. Your Royal Highness Princess, without further ado, let's hurry up and find the Prince of the Divine Sea. The princess looked a little sad and panicked, and Aunt Nai, who was beside her, kept spinning with an umbrella. And the one who protects the princess and Aunt Quan is the loyal captain of the guard. The traveling merchant in front of him, since he saved the mullion painter from the hands of the Ice Sand Prince. Apparently not with the prince. Then thank you to Mr. Wandering Merchant, and when peace is restored to the kingdom will reward you. Escort Princess Lazue to find the Prince of the Sea and save the kingdom. For the few people who got Swalang paper as a reward, naturally there was no refusal. And, along the way, there will definitely be the remaining 2 reincarnators in the way. But it's not a big deal. Stark chatted privately with the Ancient One, telling her to make sure she brought back the snow paper and obsidian. Jarvis, you said the steel armor, wouldn't it be too one-ow? Muttered, thinking to himself, if it was his steel suit, he could throw out the 2-way foil with a flick of his hand. How powerful it would be to strike at any place in the universe with coordinates at will. Thinking about it, my heart is itching. I can't wait to put on the 2-way foil immediately. Sir, spatial fluctuations have been detected, and a powerful energy shock has appeared in the western town. Hearing Jarvis's words, Stark looked at the surveillance footage. I saw that in the desolate place in the west, a hammer appeared inexplicably. The hammer smashed into a deep crater like a meteorite falling. And through Jarvis' remote detection, it was found that this hammer contained powerful energy. Moreover, the material of this hammer should be a dead star. A weapon forged from a Death Star? This is not unusual. A while ago, at the source, I saw Thor, the god of 10 cold thunder. The weapon hammer in his hand is the same, forged with stars, and it is directly strengthened by add 10. Wait. Think of the 10 cold Thor, with his hammer. Why, the more you look at it, the more similar this hammer is to that one. If you read a violent novel, you can go to Feel a Novel Network. Moreover, above the light curtain in front of him, a task prompt jumped out. It's a real-time dynamic copy. I've done a live dynamic copy once before. Not long ago, a green fat man with a Hantor tank plane appeared. I just didn't expect it to come again so soon. Stark thought about it, didn't start the group, and waited until the hammer came down. Put on the armor and quickly flew into the sky. Stark didn't hide his movements. The news of his departure was soon spread to the Hydra headquarters. Oh. Wrong. It's SHIELD headquarters. The head of SHIELD rubbed his eyebrows with a headache, and hurried to contact Stark. Not long ago, the Hulk appeared. Stark, the Iron Man, is wearing a special armor and can actually fight that monster in hand-to-hand combat. It can even slowly gain the upper hand. This is because the braised eggs do not know. That's Iron Man, testing his mental armor. Extraordinary reactive metal, a super warframe fused with living beings. It is endowed with transcendent spirituality and can make a spiritual connection with the user. As long as he is an ordinary person with a strong will. Establish a psychic connection with the armor and you can control it almost completely without side effects. At most, it's a battle that has been fought for a long time, and some of it consumes physical strength and spirit. And in terms of strength, compared to the Hulk of this period, it is not false at all. Not to mention, the user Stark used martial arts techniques. With the use of colorless small crystals, you can play a lot of martial arts. Isn't it easy to fight the Hulk? However, Yu is so powerful. The idea of establishing the Avengers in the heart of the boiled egg is even greater. After all, this Hydra. Ahem, this SHIELD is still too passive. Braised eggs, what are you doing? Connected to Stark's side, the irritating voice was immediately heard. What the hell is this boiled egg? Stark, of course, wouldn't explain that it was a delicacy he had eaten at that origin. Stark, where are you putting on your armor again? The boiled egg didn't bother with Stark's salutation, and said hurriedly. Didn't a hammer fall from the west? Don't say you don't know. I'm going to take a look. Hammer. Oh yes. Something that just fell in the western region. Detectives have been sent over to protect the scene, and by the way, they have gone to investigate. The devil knows if it's an alien race in the universe. And listening to Stark, it seems that he is going to hit the hammer that has just fallen. The boiled egg was in a hurry on the spot. Stark, that's my SHIELD stuff, don't take it for me. Don't worry, I'll go over and have a look. Stark pouted. This boiled egg looks down on me too much, Iron Man. I'm just going to do a mission. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Strategy for the All Heavens Dungeon, starting from the Biohive. Author, I'm chasing water in the sky. Chapter 236. Hey, Stark. Click. Stark's Warframe visor opens. Looked at the Nick Fury in front of him, that is, the right-hand man of the boiled egg, Agent Coulson. Hurriedly ran over. He received an order from the boss of the boiled eggs. Gotta watch Iron Man die here, don't let him take the hammer away. Stark didn't know what the boiled egg meant. This guy really looks down on people. K. Urson's eyes flashed, and he almost didn't laugh. Boiled eggs? Self-patriarchal. In other words, this is very vivid. As a professional agent. Naturally, I know what a boiled egg is. By the way, take me to see the hammer. Let's go this way, Mr. Stark. Stark walked as he looked at the construction crews called by SHIELD. It seems that a temporary 527 base will be built here. After a few steps, Stark found himself in the pit. It's the same hammer that I saw in the surveillance before. Why doesn't this hammer be put away? Hearing Stark ask, Coulson said with a strange expression. Stark, this hammer is weird. No matter what method you use, you can't move it. Can't move? This intrigued Stark. Walked up to the hammer, took it in his hand, and lifted it fiercely. Huh. Sure enough, it didn't move. That's weird. Sir, upon transcendent retrieval, the hammer has been sealed with powerful energy, even the land beneath its feet. In his head, Jarvis's words came in. Stark froze for a moment, then let go of the hammer. Seeing Stark let go of the hammer, Coulson breathed a sigh of relief. But seeing that Stark seemed to be thinking something, he didn't make a sound. In fact, Stark is still looking for the gluttonous sea, looking for the Ancient One of the Prince of the Divine Sea. Mage, what the hell is this hammer? When the Ancient One saw the picture, he naturally knew what it was. Real-time dynamic quests, right. The mystery will be revealed in 2 days. By the way, you brought that Tenlin Thor to do the mission. Perhaps, something interesting will happen. After Guyi sent the message, he looked interested. This universe now has joined the origin since her. You don't have to care about the absolute timeline anymore. It's not like another timeline universe she's seen. It will cause the destruction of the universe because of the willfulness of the next Supreme Mage. Therefore, even if many original fates are changed, it will not cause any harm to the universe. Mage, why do you see you smiling so happily? The great sage on the side asked, and the ancient one said, I thought of something glad to be happy about. Looks like the mage should know something. But you're going to tell me, hey, keep me in the dark, it's so uncomfortable. And why did you call that Thor? Call him over, what's going to happen? Stark, who looked confused, couldn't figure this out. But the mage shouldn't be wrong. I'd like to see how interesting it is. Mr. Stark, did you make any discoveries? Coulson looked at Stark, whose expression changed for a while, and asked. Stark shook his head. But back to it. This thing should come to fruition in just 2 days. After saying that, he didn't look back and rose to the sky and left here. Coulson saw Stark leave, and couldn't understand what Stark meant. Let's call back the boiled egg. There was a murmur in his mouth. Stark flew high into the air, and Jarvis's voice was heard. Sir, at the time of this hammer falling, there's another creature coming. Creatures? Stark hurriedly asked, could it be an alien? Sir, an ordinary man. If you read a violent novel, go to Filu Novel Network. But after testing, this person has a strong body, and it has powerful extraordinary properties. It shouldn't be an ordinary person, it's like a powerful life form that has been sealed. With that, Jarvis released a projection. It was a sturdy young man who had passed out in a coma. Look at this man who passed out in a coma. Stark knew that this man must have some connection with this hammer. It's all sealed. Jarvis, monitor them all the time, and record their conversations. Yes, sir. Following. Rainbow Bridge. Thor. Mjolnir. Looking at this suspected alien, a man named Thor Zero. Stark muttered. This is a mythical character. Of course, in the origin, there is a corresponding character now. God King Odin, with his dog son Thor. I've seen it all. But I didn't expect that there would be corresponding characters in my world. That's where it gets interesting. No wonder the Supreme Mage seems to know something. He also specifically said that if he called the puppy Thor, something interesting would happen. Inside, Thor is seen eating in the restaurant with the man who rescued him. I just heard a message. 50 miles west of town, a heavy spaceship had fallen there. When the news reached Thor's ears, he naturally understood it instantly. That must be their own precious hammer. Seeing this nursery, it's time to find your own hammer. Stark didn't grind anymore. Avengers World Stark team up. Real-time dynamic dungeon Mjolnir's hammer. The maximum number of people has been actively set. 10 Cold Nursery has been invited. 10 Cold Nursery to join the team. Wang. Forward. Fake oil, forget that Shilan Nursery can't speak. A man and a dog look at each other affectionately. I'm Thor Nursery. Looking at the red cloak and the heroic nursery, Stark nodded 5.9. I know your child care. Let's go, I'll take you to see your brother. It could be your father, an outcast, illegitimate child. Wang. Seeing that Stark couldn't understand his own words. 10 Cold Nurseries directly shake the light curtain and look for a translator. Hey, my brother Thor, what are you doing? On the other side of the light curtain, a terrifying head was revealed. It's Godzilla. Wang, Wang. Wang, Wang. Oh, got it, leave it to me. Hey Iron Man Stark, I'm the translator for the Thor brothers. Brother Thor said his dad couldn't. So, there will definitely be no illegitimate children out there. The corners of Stark's eyes twitched, and he looked at Ten Cold Nursery. You're talking about your dad out there. Does your dad know? Strategy for the All Heavens Dungeon, starting from the Biohive. Author, I'm chasing water in the sky. Chapter 237. In other words, why can't Chylan Nursery all the time? There are so many monsters in the League of Monsters. And the Demon Clan or something. They are all able to speak. According to the words of the Ancient One, this is the rule setting given to it by its original universe. The rules are set the same as the River God. Leaving the original universe, the rules are still there, and they will not disappear. This is the reason why Chylan Nursery, even if he relies on cultivation, still can't speak. But when he is successful in his cultivation and can break his shackles, then you can naturally speak. However, there is still some way to go. Midair. Stark's own armor is the latest in it, including the powertrain. However, what is in front of him is still pure technological armor, and no transcendent attributes have been added. There is only one set, which is compatible with the extraordinary. It's still that set of biological spirit gold armor, which has extraordinary characteristics and can accommodate extraordinary power. But it's too unstable. After one use, the genes of the organism collapse. It's far less stable than the Emperor's 05 stable, but it's much gentler than the Emperor's tool, and it won't assimilate users. But now, 10 cold nurses flying with a hammer in hand, that leisurely flying speed. I actually need to fly with all my strength to keep up. This shows the speed of Sto. It would be nice if the Ancient One Mage could get other technologies in that super dangerous universe. When I was thinking about it in my heart, I had arrived at a town on the side of West Ink and West Song. Far away, you can see a team of people driving away at great speed. The place where he went was where Thor's hammer fell. Sir, this is Agent Coulson, who took away all the equipment of the lady who rescued Thor. As a wealthy man, Stark naturally knows the urine nature of the country's military. Whatever first, let's go meet this Thor first. Let's see if they look alike. Wang. Translation Godzilla, how could it be like? Stark laughed and looked at the surveillance screen. Thor, who has lost his divine powers, at this time, is entering a store. Seems to be a pet store. This guy seems to be buying a horse and rushing to the spot where the hammer fell. Go. Thor, keep up. Wang. Hey, do you need help? Thor turned his head and saw a smiling Jane Foster striding over. As he walked up to the mortal who had saved him, another voice rang out. If you don't mind, let's go together. Wang. Jane looked at the person who said she was going to go with her, and suddenly felt familiar. Acquaintance. Big Thor asked Jane. Oh, it's our Iron Man, Mr. Howard Stark. Stark smiled. It's me, beautiful young lady, who doesn't know if you can give me a ride. Let's be honest. Jane would rather be with this man who seems to be sick in the brain, and she doesn't want to have any scandals with the playboy Stark. Seeing this girl, she seemed to be a little hesitant. Stark said directly. Perhaps, I will be of a little help to you in the rest of your journey. Stark looked at himself with a smirk, and Thor. Jane thought that maybe this guy was there. Those people in the CIA should have some fears. But why did he know where he was going? Yes, Mr. Stark, come on, I'll introduce you, this is. Read the violent novel, go to the Fila Novel Network. Don't wait for her to finish. Stark looked at Big Thor and said. I know you, Thor, son of Odin, God King. Wang. I am Thor, the god of thunder, for the glory of the gods of the north. Big Thor heard Stark say this, and the voice of the puppy, little Thor, next to him. I thought this person was my fanatical fan, and I immediately laughed. Haha, I didn't expect that even mortals know so much about Thor's prestige. Are you my admirer? Even your dog knows my prestige. Looking at such a boastful big Thor, Stark and little Thor's foreheads darkened. Jane, who was driving, said, "Hey, Mr. Stark, are you sure you don't have a fever? 50 miles away, it's not far. But now it's getting darker, and there's a lot of moisture. It looks like it's going to rain heavily." Stark sat in the back with Thor Jr. Along the way, I watched Big Thor and Jane flirting with Sal. Knowing that night was falling, the sky was full of clouds, and it seemed that a heavy rainstorm had immediately fallen halfway. As for Jane's identity as Big Thor, she naturally still doesn't believe it. Stark didn't explain, it was troublesome. Believe it or not, it's none of his business. And Big Thor, there was no explanation, just that he would know soon. It's the place. Jane pulled the car to a distance. Looking at a temporary base that had been set up, there were still many people guarding it. "Mr. Stark, what you say, don't count." Stark shook his head. "Drive straight over." After that, he sent a message to Nick Fury. "Boiled egg, I'm bringing a man who calls himself Thor, the god of thunder, to see the hammer." Nick Fury, who was far away in Shield, looked at the message Stark sent. What the hell is this Stark doing? Thor 583 Thor. Nick Fury, who was about to make a big deal, suppressed his anger again. Did he find something? Nick Fury sent a message to Coulson's side first, so as not to avoid conflict. He quickly contacted another agent, Hawkeye. "Sir, well, I saw Iron Man and his party." "How many people?" "He brought with him a man and a woman, and a dog with a cloak on his back." "Dogs, just keep an eye on them." "Got it?" Stark naturally knew about the conversation between the agent not far away and the boiled egg. He just smiled and didn't make a sound. Jane on the side was not as noisy as during the day. After all, this is the base. Don't get caught up in the suddenness. The CIA wouldn't necessarily look at Stark's face and give those things back to themselves. On the contrary, his heart is interested in the hammer that Thor said. Unfortunately, she couldn't follow the hammer and could only wait in the base. Coulson then took Stark and Thor to the drop point of Mjolnir. In the sky, it also rained heavily at this time. Thunder flashes. It seems to mean something. And when I saw the hammer that fell to the ground, big and small, Thor's eyes lit up at the same time. Strategy for the All Heavens dungeon, starting from the Biohive. Author, I'm chasing water in the sky. Chapter 238. Big Thor looked at the hammer and wanted to cry a little. Little Thor looked at the hammer, a little familiar. Asgardri's head, Odin, who has fallen into a deep sleep, has an inexplicable urge to wake up. Heimdall was on the Rainbow Bridge, with deep eyes, looking at the man and the dog. I don't know if it's an illusion, but I always feel that these two have an inexplicably same temperament. "Thor, didn't you say this was your hammer? Didn't you say that you are the son of the god King Odin, the god of thunder, Thor? It's up to you to prove that you're a god or a psychopath." Hear Stark's banter. Big Thor laughed, his muscular body spreading, as if announcing the arrival of Thor. "You look at it." Little Thor stared at the hammer, and then at the hammer in his hand. "It's obvious. The hammer in front of him is not as strong as his own." Wang Wang. Godzilla translated, "His hammer is weak, and his divine power has been sealed." Stark stared at the light curtain, but didn't speak. And Coulson, and Hawkeye, who is hiding in the shadows, watched together. The sky was thundering and torrential rain. Big Thor was in high spirits and couldn't wait, and grabbed the meow hammer towards him. Then I lifted it vigorously. Didn't bring it up. Is it because you don't have enough to eat and can't exert your strength? Then push harder. Hold it with both hands and go. AHH. Unfortunately, with the roar of Big Thor, Meow Meow Hammer never moves. He let go of his hands weakly, and his eyes showed an indescribable depression. Wang Wang. Little Thor's red cloak trembled, and he walked up to Big Thor and shouted twice, as if to comfort him. But in fact, Godzilla translated, "You little trash, you have to watch this Thor." Out of the corner of Stark's twitching eyes, he climbed up the small stone pile with short legs. Inexplicably, a trace of electricity flashed and crackled. The entire sky seems to be filled with electromagnetic pulses. The alarm inside the base went off incessantly. Then, don't wait for Big Thor to react. As soon as the dog's paw stretched out, the moment it touched the hammer, it was immediately lifted easily. Burst. In Asgard, the god of trickery sitting on the throne of the gods is actually Loki, the Tsundere brother. I almost didn't take a breath. Wang Dafa. Heimdall gasped. Look at the high-spirited. Who lifted Thor's hammer dogs? It still seems to be an oriental pastoral dog. Is Odin so hungry? No wonder sometimes Odin can hide even my eyes, it seems that he is quite chaotic in private. Not to mention Heimdall's mind. Great Thor, the thunder god of this world. Look at the dog that meows his closest companion and easily carries it in his hand. I'm alternating my two paws, and I'm doing acrobatics. Wait a minute. It seems that everyone has forgotten to complain about one thing all the time. Why does this dog keep walking on two legs? Why? Why is that? It can't be. Isn't this scientific? The muttering big nursery staggered to grab his hammer. But alas! When the hammer touched him, immediately it became as heavy as before and fell to the ground. Ha 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 ha. This is not scientific. Read the violent novel, go to the Philo Novel Network. Meow Meow Hammer, don't you love me, why did you run away with the dog? Seeing this scene, the big Thor stumbled directly under his feet, fell to the ground, and fainted. Let's get him to rest for a while. Stark lifted Big Thor up with ease. Coulson was dumbfounded, looking at little Thor and pinning the two hammers to his waist. A hellish expression. It wasn't until Stark mentioned Big Thor that he reacted. Mr. Stark, it seems that you have a lot to hide from us. Stark wasn't scared of Coulson at all. Let's go, let's find a place for this big man first, let him rest. Coulson's eyes flickered, but he didn't refuse. First, he took Big Thor to a separate secret room and threw it against the wall. Stark then joined Coulson in some of the speculations. I don't know much, like this hammer. But one thing is certain, this man said that he came from the mythical Asgard. It is the son of the god King Odin, the legendary thunder god Thor. It's true. I have my own sources to be sure. But as for why he became immortal and ended up here, it's not clear. While Stark was talking, Coulson naturally contacted the boiled egg early. Far away in Shield, I heard Stark's words. I don't know if I should believe it or not. But it seems. With Stark's identity and status. In this kind of thing, there is no need to lie to yourself. But the dog next to you who can walk upright can pick up the hammer that can't be held no matter what. What the hell? And at this very moment, there was a slight shake in the space, which was instantly noticed by Stark and Thor. A man and a dog look at each other. Wang. Godzilla translated, someone arrived, with divine power fluctuations, but very weak chickens. Interesting. This must be from Asgard. Stark remained silent, unleashing tiny surveillance bugs and crawling towards Big Thor's room. On the light curtain in front of him, a picture came. It was a more handsome and feminine man, and he slowly walked up to Thor's side. Stretching out his hand, a wave of divine power was released, causing the unconscious nurse to wake up suddenly. Loki. Why are you here? The person who came was none other than Loki, the god of trickery, Thor's Tsundere brother. His face seemed to be a little flat, and there was a little sadness. Loki, is it the frost giants attacking Asgard? Let me go back and explain to my father. Loki nodded, a sad expression. Let the nurse face tighten. Father is dead. Hearing this, Thor looked incredulous. How could the powerful father in his heart, Odin, the god king who defended the 9 realms, die? My father was disappointed in you and expelled you, and the threat of war crushed my father. Now, the throne of Asgard has passed to me. And father keeps the hammer next to you, but you can't hold it, and you can even get a dog to pick it up. It's too ruthless. Looking at his younger brother who seems to have the same hatred as him. Thor, however, is sad. Brother, can you not mention this stubble? You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Strategy for the All Heavens Dungeon, starting from the Biohive. Author, I'm chasing water in the sky. Chapter 239. What the hell is this family doing? Stark muttered. On the side, little Thor, who had 2 hammers pinned to his waist, patted Stark's calf. Wang wang. Wang wang. Godzilla translated, the hammer told me that this is Odin's test and trial of that Thor, and I hope we will not interfere until he can successfully pick up the hammer. It's called a trial. Didn't that Loki just say that Odin is dead? Stark pouted. People are dead, and they still have to continue the trial? Wang wang wang. Godzilla translated, no, Odin is not dead, he is pretending. For a strong person of that level, it's not something that can die easily. And, this Odin is looking at us right now. Burst. Stark was startled and turned his head around. The next moment, a figure like an ordinary person slowly appeared. It was the god king Odin. Wang. Little Thor was heard shouting. Originally a straight face, the majestic Odin. His face darkened. Phew. Don't call me dad, I'm not your dad. Damn, Heimdall, don't look at me. On the Rainbow Bridge, Heimdall 303 has a gossipy face, wanting to see a father-son relationship, as deep as the sea. Pity. This old guy is so stingy. I won't pass on the gossip to the entire 9 realms, you have to believe me. Wang. Fuck off, wait a minute, after I die here, I'm going to talk to your father. Is he a beast? Odin really lives in Bangview. Why is this Thor a dog? The serious dog Thor, or the oriental pastoral dog type? If Frigga knew about this. Odin, God King. Stark flickered at the old man's appearance, and saw that little Thor had climbed onto Odin's shoulder. Odin was scolding. See Stark make a sound. Odin then carried little Thor to the ground, and while teasing, he said. Stark, the Supreme Mage told me about you. God King, do you know the Supreme Mage? Odin nodded, not knowing what treasure he had pulled out of his hand. Teasing little Thor. I can't help but have an inexplicable feeling in my heart, it seems, this feeling is pretty good. Phew. Quickly put aside this inexplicable thought. Ahem, yes, I already know about the origin. Soon I will be in the source with my wife. Odin's words made Stark stunned. Looking at Stark, who was stunned, Odin didn't say much. When the time comes, you will know that this world will be guarded by you young people in the future. Stark didn't know what Odin meant. Odin, on the other hand, took little Thor with him, turned around and prepared to leave. Seems to have thought of something again. By the way, I suggest that you form an alliance to protect the solar system. Why don't you call it the Avengers? After saying that, without looking back, he left with little Thor. Watch little Thor wagging his tail and follow Odin away. Stark thought that if he waited for Thor to return to Asgard and see that he had one more for it. Brother dog, I don't know what it's like. But what did Odin's last words mean? Assemble a guardian team, the Avengers. I don't know why, but I always think it's a lot of fun. It seems, in the dark. If you don't form a coalition of your own. When the time comes, in the origin, you will encounter your own natural enemies. In the mind. If you read a violent novel, go to Feel a Novel Network. There seems to be a dark bat figure, even deeper. I shuddered inexplicably. Jarvis, how about Odin's proposal? Sir, do I need to file the Avengers program? By the way, sir, I found information about the Avengers, AFI, alliance in the Hydra Bureau. Hear Jarvis's words. Stark was a little puzzled. Why is there information about the Avengers in the Hydra Bureau? Huh. Wait a minute. Hydra Bureau? How did you get involved with Hydra? That's right, sir. Croak. When Jarvis said it, Stark was amused. Is SHIELD infiltrated so badly? No wonder Jarvis called the Hydra Bureau. However, the boiled egg may have realized something. Therefore, there is also a plan to form the Avengers. No way. This plan is now my Stark's. The Hulk, become the first member of the Avengers. By the way, and Thor, the god of thunder. Asgard. Odin seemed to be lying deep, in eternal sleep. Frigga teases a red-capped puppy. There are also two hammers on the ground. The hammer, which glowed after being strengthened, seemed to say something. Reprimand the hammer that doesn't shine. Footsteps suddenly sounded. It's Loki coming. Look at the familiar puppy, the familiar hammer. Loki had some doubts in his mind. Loki. Call Big Brother quickly. Burst. Hearing Frigga's words, Loki paused. And the swaggering puppy, with a shake of his cloak, stood there with his paws crossed. This momentum. It's too similar to the brother who only has muscles in his head. The two figures appear to overlap. His mouth squirmed, and he almost cried out. But in the end, he came back to his senses and said embarrassedly, "Mother, I'm just coming to see my father." After saying that, he left without looking back. Wang. Frigga smiled. Loki, he's not really bad, he's just a kid who wants to get his parents' approval and his brother's praise. I can see through Loki's heart, and he loves Asgard no less than anyone else. Wang. Will you be a good big brother? Then I'll leave it to Thor. Loki hadn't heard Frigga say, otherwise he would have had to have a friendly conversation with little Thor. And in his mind, there are two figures of Thor, constantly appearing. He couldn't help but pause, and then walked quickly to a place. That's where the destroyer, the weapon of Asgard, is sealed. Go ahead. Asgard does not need two beloved heirs. Don't let my brother come back. Go and destroy everything there. And at this moment, the great Thor was rejoicing, and his loyal subordinates and friends had come to his side. Unbeknownst to him, danger was imminent. Strategy for the All Heavens Dungeon, starting from the Biohive. Author, I'm Chasing Water in the Sky. Chapter 240. Jarvis, record the biological. Recording, sir. Inside the Light Curtain live broadcast. Accept the mission, find the gluttonous sea, and find the prince of the sea who saved the kingdom of unprovoked things. It was finally found. This God Sea King has a characteristic. That is, no matter how far or near it looks, it is the same size. According to common sense, the farther away everything is, the smaller it seems. The Prince of the Divine Sea, no matter how far or near, looks the same size. This kind of magical, no longer common sense creature, seems to contain inexplicable laws. No wonder. No wonder the old painter would say that even if he painted on paper, he couldn't make this prince disappear. In other words, the inexplicable characteristic of this prince is the way to resist the effect of snow wave paper. Of course, it is limited to Western painting techniques. If it is the painting technique of the Oriental ink school, it can still draw the prince into the painting. Among them, there seems to be some inexplicable metaphor. In the live broadcast room, they are also communicating carefully for this reason. Stark was naturally interested. We compare the transformation of snow wave paper to a two-way foil. In other words, the characteristics of the Prince of the Sea can resist the two-way foil. And the Oriental ink painting technique may be a weapon that is stronger than the two-way foil. Stark's message made many agree. But for the characteristics of the Prince of the Sea of Gods. Big Wolf, the speed of light, it's the speed of light. Big Wolf, no matter how far or near, when you look at the Prince of the Divine Sea, they are all the same size, which is equivalent to the constant speed of light. Big Wolf, the maximum speed of the two-way foil is also the speed of light, so as long as it is at the speed of light, it can escape the dimensionality reduction strike. Velocity of light. The Grey Wolf's scientific attainments are very high. What he said seems to make sense. Stark pouted. Think of the dimensionality reduction blow of the two-way foil. Unfolds completely at the speed of light on the Earth, to the Sun, in just 8 minutes. But it would take 110 million years to expand to the entire supercluster where the Milky Way is located. It seems like a slow thing. After all, a supercluster of galaxies is just a tiny speck of dust in the universe. But this is on a cosmic scale. Stark reveled in this exchange of knowledge and discussion. But after half an hour, then came Jarvis's urgent notice. The projection unfolds in front of you. That's where Thor is. Beside him, it was not just Jane Foster who followed. There were also 4 warriors who had come down from Asgard. Meantime, there is also a giant like a mecha, wreaking havoc in the town. On the Hydra side, Coulson fled in embarrassment, avoiding the giant's attack. And the giant's target is Thor. It must have been Loki. Thor knew very well that it was his younger brother who was playing with his temper and got it here. But the bad heart of these days, as well as the beginning and end of the Meow Hammer, hit him hard. Compared with the past, I have realized a lot of things that I have not been exposed to before. For example, love. Stark watched through the light curtain as the bloody plot unfolded. Can't help complaining, Odin is a god king anyway, how can this be considered a trial? Specifically let his son go to the earth to fall in love? And then let his son be in front of his girlfriend, showing great power and heroically saving beauty. Gee. It's really bloody. But he can't really run to complain. After all, their family is deeply involved in the play. It's just a pity for that younger brother Loki. It doesn't seem very smart. I really don't know if these 2 brothers will continue to love and kill each other in the future. Silently complained a few words. If you read a violent novel, go to Feel a Novel Network. And that great power, calling out the Meow Hammer. Thor, who became the powerful Thor of the past. After stumbling with his girlfriend, he immediately went back to Asgard. But there, Stark couldn't see it. But Asgard, this teleportation technology seems pretty good. It seems to be called the Rainbow Bridge. Cool enough to be worthy of the status of the big rich Stark. You can find a way to do research. Maybe you can also integrate the original source, various long-distance teleportation methods, and make some improvements. Stark pondered. And Asgardry heads. The 2 brothers fell in love and killed each other according to the script. When you see your brother Loki, use the Rainbow Bridge and the Ice Crate to destroy the Frost Giant. Thor, who has passed the trial, naturally knows that if he wants to sit in the position of the God King, he will not only rely on killing. Therefore, he resolutely chose to destroy the Rainbow Bridge. Brother, destroy the Rainbow Bridge, and you will never see that woman again. Ignoring Loki's words, Thor's hammer slammed down. Until a boom came. The Rainbow Bridge shatters and falls into the universe. Huge energy, open a huge gravitational wormhole. Sucked Loki and Thor over. But only listen to Wong's voice. On the Rainbow Bridge, a cloak figure appeared. It was little Thor who came. He scratched his paw at Thor's cloak, which grabbed Loki's wand. Stabilized their figures. But to see the appearance of this dog. There was an inexplicable sadness and indignation in Thor's heart, as if the hammer of Thor in his hand was no longer pure. Loki, on the other hand, has a trembling mouth. It seems that I heard Frigga again, wanting to call my brother again. The next moment, next to the dog, the god King Odin appeared. At this moment, Loki seemed to be like a child who had done something wrong, and was caught by his parents. But he still said stiffly, "Father, for you, for everyone, for Asgard, I could have succeeded." Odin looked at the mischievous son. Secret thoughts? It seems that if you are not beaten a little, you will not be sensible. Really? I'm a lot older, and I have to worry about educating 2 children. Well, when that daughter comes out, I can also die, and then let her educate these 2 brothers well. Looked at his father with deep eyes, and seemed to have a deep disappointment in himself. Loki just forced a smile, then resolutely let go of his hand, let go of his wand, and fell into the universe. In the next moment, he was pulled into the wormhole by the gravitational pull of energy fluctuations. No, Loki, no. Wong. Little Thor and Odin looked calm. Big Thor looked as if he had lost his dear brother. "It's okay, I'll introduce you to another brother," Odin said flatly. The big Thor with a sad and angry face just looked at Odin in confusion. "And the nasty dog who seduces me, Hammer." 5.